Hello guys, Salt here. Today we're going to be going over the Bubonico and specifically the Bubonico's primary fire. So the Bubonico has a primary and an alternate fire, and they are both very different and they're both built very differently. So I figured it was a little bit easier for me to just do two videos back to back. So I'll do the primary fire today and then I plan to do the alternate fire tomorrow. So now in this video series, I take a weapon, I build it out, and I test that weapon on its own merits, meaning I don't mix it with any kind of external things like Warframe abilities, Warframe buffs, pets putting statuses on, pet buffs, things like that. I just test the weapon by itself. And then I leave it up to the viewer to make, their own intelligent decisions on, hey, Salt put fire rate on this weapon, but I'm using Wisp that gives me fire rate. Maybe I can, knock off the fire rate mod and put something else on. So things like that. Okay, let's get into the build here. So it's a primary weapon. It's an infested weapon, and it's one of the few arm cannons in the game. And nothing like gameplay-wise, nothing that changes there, but it's just really cool. It's a huge weapon. It goes like way over your shoulder. You have some like really cool fashion frame potential. Of course, it does not go with my fashion, but you can make some kind of fashion frame out of this. Pretty cool. Okay, so I'm going to go into a blank build first just to kind of show the unique things about it. So the Bubonico, the two unique things, and again, we're going over the primary fire today. So the unique things about the primary fire is that it's going to have Toxin innate. It's very nice. And something that's almost even nicer is that it's going to have punch through innate. It has 1.9 punch through. And a lot of times you don't get this on shotguns. So that's really awesome. And I guess another thing is too, the Bubonico does not use ammo. It uses kind of like a battery pack, but it's not really a battery pack. I guess it's supposed to be like a infested blood pack or something. I don't know, whatever the lore for infested is. So it doesn't use ammo traditionally. It just recharges. Okay, so we'll get into the primary fire build here. Let me go back and go back in. That way I don't have these weird things there. Okay, so we are going to be using Galvanized Hell for multi-shot. We're going to be using Galvanized Savvy for status chance and direct damage per status type affecting the target. Now, Galvanized Savvy and all the other condition, like the ranged condition overload mods, they're extremely weird. Some of them work additively and some of them work multiplicatively. Galvanized Savvy on the Bubonico primary fire works multiplicatively, so it's very strong on the Bubonico specifically. Even if it worked additively, we'd probably still use it, but it's just even better multiplicatively. Then we're going to use, these are easy here, so just crit deceleration and prime ravage for just crit chance, crit damage. This is a very hybrid weapon, like you're going to be in yellows pretty much. You're not going to see oranges, you're not going to see any kind of reds unless you have some crazy, ribbon or something like that. You're going to be in yellow. So very hybrid-esque, but, critical deceleration and prime ravage are going to keep you in yellows. Primed point blank for flat damage. There are a few options for this slot. So if you notice here, we have no fire rate mod. And so one of the options for primed point blank is going to be shotgun barrage. Now, Shotgun Barrage is going to give you plus 90% fire rate, and it's a super good option. So, kind of up to you there. Now, I'm going to go with Prime Point Blank just because this weapon typically kills enemies in 1 or 2 shots. And so I feel like you don't technically need the DPS of having like crazy fire rate. And I feel like sometimes you just waste ammo with it. But that might just be me kind of coping, right? Like Shotgun Barrage is still quite strong on the Bubonico. The problem I have with a lot of shotguns in the game is that there are so many good shotgun mods that it feels like you just need an extra slot. Like if I had another slot here, Shotgun Barrage would 100% be the one put on here. It just feels like you need an extra mod slot with shotguns. Like there's so many good shotgun mods. And because of that, I hate like saying, oh, you need a Riven or you know, this would do so much better with a Riven, because you don't need a Riven. But if you got a Riven that also had fire rate, and like, let's say it had flat damage and fire rate, pop it over point blank and you get the best of both worlds. Like, you know, that would be perfect. And in fact, you know, I don't do these tests with a Riven because no one's going to have the same Riven you do. But if you look here, I do have a Riven with fire rate, multi-shot, and crit chance. And I put that over Prime Point Blank or Galvanized Savvy sometimes. But no, Galvanized Savvy is the better option. I would put it over Prime Point Blank. But again, I don't do these tests with Rivens. Okay, I'm kind of over-explaining this. I also, another option is going to be Hunter Munitions. Now, you're going to get crit, slash procs on crits, 30% chance to apply slash proc. That could go over Prime Point Blank. Now, Hunter Munitions is only going to be better on enemies that stay up for a few seconds. Now, the Bubonico hits pretty hard, and so most enemies are not up for a few seconds. And so you're actually getting more out of Prime Point Blank than you are Hunter Munitions, depending on like where you are. I mean, obviously, if you care about staying in a survival for 4 hours to get to like level 4,000 enemies, then Hunter Munitions might be better than Prime Point Blank. But in regular like 1, 2, 3 hour Steel Path survivals, Prime Point Blank will beat out Hunter Munitions. Okay. Sorry. Next here, we're going to be going for Radiation. So we're going to be going for Prime Charge Shell and Heat. And this is mostly because we want to be using these two shotguns. Again, shotguns have really good mods, and shotguns have access to 2 primed element mods. And so you get a lot of extra damage because of that as well. And so we want to try to use both of them. And there's different ways to go about it. Like there's different combos of elements you can go with. You can go with, I believe it's like corrosive. Oh no, is it viral and electric maybe? I end up going with viral and radiation. I believe it gives you the best damage output because there's very little enemies that are strong against radiation except for infested. And infested die super quickly anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And so that's why I'm going with Prime Charge Shell. That way we get to use that big juicy Prime mod. You know, and then a 60-60 heat just to give us a little bit more status chance to make radiation there. And then we're going to be going for cold here. And again, if a weapon has an innate element, so this one's going to have toxin like we went over. If a weapon has an innate element, just view it as being like over here. So the game reads elements up and down, left and right. And so it's going to read it like this. And so, you know, it's getting to this point and it's reading Charge Shell and Scattering Inferno. So it's going to make radiation. And then it's going to read Prime Chilling Grasp and then the innate right here, toxin. And so it's going to make viral. So that's how we end up getting radiation and viral. Galvanized Acceleration, because it's a shotgun, it's just going to increase damage on enemies at range, like medium-ish ranges. Primary Deadhead for an Arcane, just to a little bit less weapon recoil. It's not really that big of a deal on this weapon. Bit more headshot multiplier. Yeah, the reload speed from Primary Merciless doesn't affect this weapon, so that's why I'm just going to go with Deadhead. That is pretty much it for the build. I kind of over-explained that a bit. Again, there's more to this weapon because it has an alt fire, and the alt fire, instead of just having toxin, it has full viral. There's a lot more to this weapon, but I'm actually going to do it in 2 videos. We're just going to be going over the shotgun mode right now, and then we'll go over the alt fire probably tomorrow. Okay, so we're going to be doing a 10-minute Kuva survival on Steel Path. We're going to kill some trash, kill some acolytes, see how this weapon performs. And then we're going to do a 10-minute Lua Conjunction survival. And again, in the series, I don't mix the weapon with any external factors. And because of that, we're going to just be using a big dumb Inaros with no Archon shards. No mods or arcanes that affect weapon damage. And a pet with no sentinel weapon and no mods on the pet that affect weapon damage. That way we can just get a good view of the Bubonico by itself. All right, let me stop running my mouth, and we will get into this Kuva survival. So we're on Steel Path, solo, cool. Sorry about that. I have a little bit of like a frog in my throat today.
Scans
So look how cool this weapon looks, though. I mean, this is such a big weapon. So I'm going to cast my 4 to double my armor, and that'll be the last time I use an ability. Everything else will just be the weapon.
Sending modified life support capsules. Use these to sustain your environment or attach Kuba catalysts to begin harvesting.
Something else about the recharge of like the magazine or the ammo of this weapon is that it's going to be a 1.5 second delay until you get ammo back, unless you shoot all the way to 0. If you shoot all the way to 0, the delay is only going to be 0.5, so it's going to be a second quicker. So don't worry about shooting all the way to 0. It's actually kind of preferred to shoot all the way to 0. As you can see, enemies are pretty much just dying in one shot, especially once we get our multi-shot stacks up. So, and that's why Hunter Munitions is not really, like, it's an option, especially if you find yourself sitting in steel paths for like 4+ hours. But under that, it's actually going to be worse on the weapon. It's one of those weapons that it's actually worse unless you're sitting in a mission by yourself for 4 hours. Which a lot of people like to theory craft about. But it's just good to know that those builds don't necessarily start out strong. Certain weapons, Hunter Munitions is amazing. Like this weapon it's not too bad. You have punch through on it, so even though your main target might be dying like immediately, you might be hitting targets behind it without even knowing, and they're going to be taking damage from the slash procs, which is not too bad. Yeah, I finally got to the Bubonico, Marcella. I was kind of holding off on it because I wasn't sure how I was going to do the format. I was like, do I do both modes in the same video, but then the video is going to be like friggin' an hour and a half long? Do I do them in like separate videos? I ended up deciding to do them in 2 separate videos. I'll do the primary mode today, like the shotgun mode, and I'll do the artillery mode probably tomorrow. Just because they are built differently. You don't use certain mods in artillery mode, and certain mods that are amazing in shotgun mode or shit in artillery mode. Kind of like that. They're effectively 2 very different weapons that don't necessarily complement each other too much. And again, I'm sorry I keep like clearing my throat. I have kind of like a little, I don't know what's going on with me today. All right, so we got Misery up. Is this the one that has the Zephyr buff? I'm not sure. Yeah, he's taking full damage, so. And he is dead. So, pretty good Acolyte killer. Pretty good Acolyte killer. Good Eximus killer. Good Trash killer. This is a weapon that's pretty good against everything. Look at that, 3 shots against that Eximus. So that Eximus died in less than a second, so Hunter Munitions would have had 0 effect. It would have been acting as if you had no mod on the weapon. Or in that slot, at least. Hunter Munitions takes 1 second for you to start getting a damage, from the slash block. And then every 1 second after that, you get another tick of damage. Oh, I'm so sorry. MK1 Paris vid. Hey, Pody. You know, honestly, I wasn't going to do non-viable steel path weapons, but I think for like the subscriber milestones,
Go to extraction.
it might be like fun videos. And so like I did the Stug. I have one lined up for the next one, which is going to be the Embolus, because the Embolus is another really, really bad weapon that you really can't make steel path viable. But like the MK1 Bratton or the MK1 Paris would be cool. But you might be able to make. I mean, maybe not, but you might be able to make them steel path viable because they have the Incarnins now. So you could have like an Incarnin MK1 Paris or an Incarnin MK1 Bratton. So yeah, if you got a Riven for this weapon, look for fire rate. If you get a fire rate on your Riven, obviously look for better stats too. You know, if you get like fire rate, crit chance, crit damage, that's awesome. If you get like fire rate, flat damage, status chance, that could be cool. But if you can get fire rate in your Riven, like, ooh, you are golden, because like I am always on the fence. It's like, do I want to use Prime Point Blank? It's only 165 flat damage. It's not, it doesn't actually make the weapon that much stronger. But like the weapon doesn't necessarily feel like it needs fire rate. Like it feels better with fire rate, but it doesn't super need fire rate. So like, but if you're able to get both of them in the same slot by using a Riven, whew, you'll be golden. And again, I have that. I have a Riven for it that does that. But I don't like to do these tests with Rivens because people aren't going to have the same stuff that you have, or that I have rather. I wish the recharge of this weapon was a little bit quicker. There's not really a way to increase that. That is one thing I wish it was a little bit quicker to do, is to recharge the ammo. Which is also why I'm not super butthurt that I don't have fire rate on this specific build, because it lets me be a little bit more careful with my shots, so I'm not just like overshooting an enemy. Oh, I saw your comments too, Pody, about the clan obstacle course. I kind of got to those late. I apologize for that. I know you had sent me some messages about the clan obstacle course. I will go and I will donate what I can, but now that we're in a Moon Clan, even though I have a shitload of resources, you know, as a Moon Clan, it's very, very expensive. And so I'll go and I'll donate what I can. But it might be one of those things where it'll just have to get donated like over time by multiple people. Oh, it's only plastids? I might have the... maybe. Plastids might be one of the things. I think plastids and polymer bundles are like the two things I'm kind of low on. Where is he? Here you are, Angst. Okay, let's get some good shots on him. And he went behind me. And they took my weapon every time. Every time I'm trying to showcase an Acolyte, I get these assholes staggering me, stealing my weapon. Everything. God. Can never catch a break. Alright, he's dead. Pretty good Acolyte killer there. So what are we at? 9? We're not at 10 yet. I was about to start running for attraction, but we're not ready yet. We're still blazing away. Yeah, speed of battery weapons, Marcelus? Absolutely, I wish. I wish. Especially if they made it like an Exilus mod where like it wasn't that big of a deal to use it. Yeah, and Pody, like if you're because you're not like a super high MR, I don't think you're like
You are running
mid
out of
20s, I think.
time.
So
Consider
don't use your
extraction.
resources. Let me use my
The
resources
longer
first on
you
that.
fight, the more
And then
successful you will be.
so we're at 573 kills for 10 minutes. I'm gonna clear my throat for a second. Hold on. So we're at 573 kills for 10 minutes. I'm looking for the extraction, which is over there. When I do these tests, average weapons usually hit at about 350 to 400 kills.
Critical life
So
support
this
levels.
weapon is well
Extraction
above
is your best
average
option.
levels. Can I have a green marker, please? I think it's over there, actually. Yep, it is. Yeah, so let me, when I'm done with this video, Pody, let me go into the dojo, and I will contribute everything I have. And whatever's left, we just might have to wait for. It'll just be like little decoration stuff, probably. I believe the actual obstacle course stuff gets put in immediately, right? Like, you don't actually have to contribute to the obstacle course stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. It's been a while since I messed with that.
A valuable lesson.
Okay, so we're going to queue up the 10-minute Lua Conjunction. We're going to smash that out, and we'll test this against Thraxes, which are kind of like super Eximuses. No need to buy the course decor. Yeah, I thought that. I thought it like immediately went in. Or do you mean no, you need to buy the course decor?
The art of combat must be practiced to truly master.
He's stealing my weapon right off the bat here. Okay. Gonna do this. I'm gonna use my 4 to double my armor, and that'll be the last ability I use. You don't buy the decor in the course room. Okay, that's what I thought. So in Lua Conjunction, it's going to be mixed enemies, so we'll get some Corpus in here too, which is cool. I have a bad habit when I go to shoot this. I don't let it really like fully reload. I kind of just keep trying to shoot it when it's at like 1 or 2 bullets. So that's kind of my bad. Again, any kind of weapon with punch through, you do want to try to like fight in a place where you can line enemies up. It's just going to increase your DPS. And we're actually getting kills very quickly, and so we're not really fighting for life support right now, which is really nice. These Lua Conjunctions, the life support, when I do these tests with like a single weapon, the life support's usually what screw you over and what makes you fail. Not necessarily at the actual fight. I think there was only like one weapon where I had to actually I had to end it early because it just would not kill anything that was like bigger than trash enemies. Very good weapon, but it was not good against Thoraxes and Eximuses, and that was the Agrit. I think I would have been sitting here for like 20 minutes to try to kill the Thorax enemies. at 70 life support. I'm going to go to the first set here. I'm going to hit 1 life support, and then I'm going to kind of double back and like meet these guys halfway. Because the spawns in Lure are pretty bad. Like nothing will spawn in this room until they start dying behind me there. Which is normal. I mean, most maps are like that, but they for some reason, I don't know if it's certain tile sets, but they take a very long time to go from one area to another. There was one video I did where I had to sit for 3 minutes for them to move like 150 meters. Gonna get some Arbiters of Hexus boys attacking me. Bring it on, I'm ready. Maybe I should have a full 27 shots before I fight them though. Alright, we're going to be getting an Acolyte soon. I think that's him right there. And we're going to be getting Thraxes in 30 seconds. If the Thraxes come while the Acolyte is still up, I will have to switch to Thraxes because they're going to be more dangerous. But I am going to try to kill Angst quickly. He goes behind me here. Yep, there he goes. And Angst is dead. So very, very, very good Acolyte killer here. So Thraxes, you can kind of view them like super Eximuses. This guy's about to go down. And my aim is horrible. I don't know what's going on with me today. Weapon stolen. Aim's bad. Alright, let me hit one of these little life sports here, or big life sports I should say. And we'll go right back down to that pack of enemies. Start farming little life sports from them. Of course, if your aim is better than mine, this will perform better. I have pretty average and mediocre aim. I don't believe I have anything on the weapon that requires you to aim in. I just have a habit. I run scope on a lot of my primary and secondary builds, so I have like a habit of always aiming in. But I don't believe there is anything on this build that requires you to aim in. Deadhead will say, like primary Deadhead will say, precision headshot kills, but it works on hipfire headshot kills as well. Trackmaster, not going to steal my weapon today. Well, not right now at least. I have gotten my weapon stolen multiple times already today. Getting a little bit lower on life support, so I did just kind of farm up a few of them there. I have a few more weapons in the works. One of the videos I was about to put up, I actually stopped because I need to do more testing on it, and that was the Opticore. So I was ready to do a video. I was like literally sitting down about to press the button to do the video on the Opticore Vandal, and I was reviewing like a few different forums and the wiki just to make sure I wasn't missing anything on it. Let me kill this guy real quick before I run my mouth. I'm a bad multitasker. Alright, he's gone. Let me get some life supports before I forget. So I was about to do the Opticore Vandal video, and I wasn't missing anything on the Opticore Vandal, and I have it like, it's too much formas into that thing because I do testing on weapons, so I usually overforma them by like 1 or 2. That way I can switch around mods and test different damages. And, you know, I was getting ready. I was like, okay, got the Opticore Vandal, good to go. And then I read like the, on the wiki, there's like a differences tab between the Opticore and the Opticore Vandal. And typically on weapons that have like a better, you know, quote unquote better version, the better version is better. But I'm looking at the stats of the regular Opticore, and like I'm looking at what the Opticore Vandal gives, and I'm like, oh, man, I'm not really sure if Vandal's actually better than the regular Opticore. Like Vandal has better, like slightly better, like crit chance and like stats like that. But the regular Opticore's charge shot is 1,000 compared to the Vandal's 400. And so I'm like, oh my goodness, like that is a significant, like that's not just like a 4% like crit chance increase. Like that's a significant damage increase. That's 2.5 times more damage on the, you know, of course it's like, you know, base damage, flat damage. Let's kill these Thraxes and then we'll roll out. Not going to worry too much about life support right now because we are good, and we're going to roll out at 10. And this weapon is easy to maintain. I've just kind of gotten lazy about like chasing where the life support areas are. So at 10 minutes, we're at 524 kills. Now, when I do these tests, it's common to see weapons do a lot worse in Lua Conjunction because you spend a long time fighting Thraxes. But this weapon kind of blazes through Thraxes, so we didn't actually spend that much like longer fighting Thraxes. And so, I can't remember, I think it was like 570 something in Kuva Survival, so 524, that's not that big of a deal, only dropping like 50 kills. Pretty good, pretty like well above average. It's not hitting the crazy numbers that like, you know, Meta and Karnins are hitting like the Torrid or anything like that, but it's still well above average. This is a very good weapon. And this is just a dojo weapon, if I remember correctly. It's just a dojo weapon. So we'll go over the build one more time. So yeah, I have to do a lot more testing on that Opticore build. I have to actually, unfortunately, also build out the regular Opticore and then kind of test them side by side. So I'm probably going to have to like waste like 8 formas into that thing. Okay, so the Bubonico, it is a primary infested shotgun weapon that also has an alternate fire mode that shoots 3 explosive artillery shells, like infested globule artillery shells. Now, in this specific video, we only looked at the shotgun mode. I'm going to make a separate video tomorrow on the artillery mode. That way we can look at both of them because they're both very different and they're both built very differently. And so they don't necessarily complement each other. You know, you don't really use like both of them in the same. You can, of course. I mean, obviously you can just pressure all fire and it shoots. But to get the maximum damage, they are built very differently. Okay, so the Bubonico. And I'm going to bring up a blank tab here just so we can see its stuff that it gets innate. So it gets innate toxin. It also gets innate punch through, which is really nice, of a 1.9. And it's a quote-unquote battery weapon. I mean, it's an infested weapon, so I don't think it's technically a battery. It's supposed to be like I don't know, like using blood or something to shoot. But yeah, it's like a battery weapon basically. Okay, we'll go back to the, oops, what am I doing here? Primary fire, go back here. Okay, there we go. All right, now for the build, we're going to be going with Galvanized Hell for multi-shot,
Operator, Ordis wonders.
Galvanized Savvy
What are you
for
thinking
status
about?
chance and direct damage per status type affecting the target. And the ranged condition overload mods are a little bit weird. Most of them are additive damage, but some of them, depending on the weapon, so this is weapon specific, not actual mod specific. This is weapon specific. Certain weapons, the condition overload ranged mods like Galvanized Savvy, they act multiplicatively. And the Bubonico is one of those. So you get a lot out of Galvanized Savvy on the Bubonico. These two here, this is just going to be your crit chance and your crit damage mods. This is going to get you into yellows, which is fine. This is a hybrid weapon, so you're not really going to be seeing much more than yellows. We're going to be using primed point blank here for flat damage, and there's a few other options. Because 165, you already have flat damage with Deadhead. So 165 is not that much more. So your other options are Shotgun Barrage or Amalgam Shotgun Barrage, whatever you like. But Shotgun Barrage for 90% fire rate. Now, this weapon's pretty slow to recharge, and it kills in 1 or 2 shots. So I notice, now Shotgun Barrage is going to feel better than Point Blank. But I notice when I use Shotgun Barrage, I kind of like waste some shots because it's shooting so quickly. So I'm going to go with Prime Point Blank. But again, that's kind of me coping too, where like I'm kind of, Shotgun Barrage is a very good option over Point Blank. Kind of up to you. Try both of them out. Whatever you like. It's not that big of a deal. Prime Point Blank only gives 165. Not that big of a deal. 100 munitions is also the other option because this weapon does hit for like a respectable amount of damage. It doesn't hit for piddly numbers, and so you get like okay damage with your 100 munition slash procs. You're not going to get gigantic slash procs like you will on some weapons, but you're not going to get the little piddly numbers that you get on like smaller assault rifles that are barely noticeable. So 100 munitions is okay. Prime point, but the thing with 100 munitions is that you are going to see the first instance of damage that 100 munitions does 1 second after your slash is applied. So, as you saw, Lua Conjunction enemies start at like a higher level 180. It's not super high, but it's the highest level that you can start on Steel Path. And even Eximuses were dying in like 1 to 2 seconds. So you don't really get much out of hunter munitions. So, I mean, if you're willing to sit in a survival for 4+ hours, where like, at 4 hours, I think they're about like level 4 to 5,000. If you were to like stay in a survival for 4+ hours, hunter munitions is going to beat out Prime Point Blank. But before then, I believe Prime Point Blank will beat it out. So next we're going to have Prime Charge Shell and Scattering Inferno to make radiation. And now we're choosing radiation mostly because we're trying to use these 2 big primed element mods. Because you just get a lot more damage out of these 2. So the weapon has innate toxin, so you can view toxin at the end here. So Chilling Grasp with cold is mixing with toxin to make viral, because viral is a really good status to have on the weapon. And then we're kind of deciding what we want to use here. Now, the best option I feel is radiation, just because there's not very many enemies that are resistant to radiation. The only things that are really resistant to radiation are some infested enemies, and infested are easy to kill anyway, so it doesn't really matter that they're resistant to it. So that's why we go with radiation. Galvanized acceleration, just to so projectile speed and beam length. It's kind of weird, but the game causes shotguns to do more damage at range. Like there's damage fall off with shotguns. Like the further away an enemy is, the less damage you'll do. So projectile speed increases that, or it increases the damage you do at enemies at range. So that's why we use galvanized acceleration. And then we're going to go with primary deadhead just because it's a dumb 360% flat damage increase with a 30% headshot multiplier and negative weapon recoil, which I don't think this weapon has too bad of recoil, but maybe it does. Maybe I'm just using prime deadhead all the time, so I don't really recognize the regular recoil. But yeah, we go with primary deadhead there. Merciless, I don't think the reload effect of Merciless affects the actual charge up time of the weapon, unfortunately. So that's why we go deadhead. And now that I have over-explained that, that's pretty much it for the Bubonico. Again, this weapon has a lot to it because the artillery mode's way different. So it's going to be built a lot differently. And I'll go over that on another video tomorrow. But I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much. If you liked it, give it a like. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.